So our first speaker, our keynote, Salvatore Giammarresi, is the Localization Director at Yahoo. He just finished completely reorganizing Yahoo's localization into a centralized team, which I guess you're a slacker.
Yeah, that was easy.
Yeah. So Salvatore is one of the people here today who actually is prepared for this career. His degree, PhD in Applied Linguistics from the University of Palermo. And he's also been a visiting professor at the University of Palermo. And he, like I said, is currently at Yahoo as Localization Director. He just got back from a business trips to Dubai and Jordan. I noticed he didn't stand up on the bidirectional question. And he's interested in cooking.
Yes.
So with all that, the burning question is, are you single?
No,
Take it away, Sal.
Thank you. Just hold on for the file to come up. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, today we're going to be reviewing what providers like Milengo, acrolinx, Asia Online, and others will have to provide us and help us with what we do. I thought of going a step back and figuring out, where does this all fit in? How does it fit in with what we need to do? As you heard, I overviewed localization at Yahoo, and I think everyone here, others here, have do things like that, where you are responsible for localization within your entity, and you need to figure out, where does a piece of technology, where does a vendor and LSP fit in with everything else you need to get done. So I thought of seeing, where does it all begin? And it begins here. We need to answer, I think all of us in this industry, how does our team, how does the localization effort we put in, the decisions we do, we have to take on technology, providers, do we rely on MT, do we not rely on MT? It has to answer this one thing: how does it help the financials of our own entity? If we're not able to speak to our CFO about this, if you're not able to say why this piece of technology will help financially, then we need to go back and do homework. And I know you might say, well, I don't often speak with my CFO. And that's another issue we have in our own industry, right? Where localization is not considered high up in our own entity, where we can have that review of, how does this piece of technology impact not only my team, but the company as a whole? How much does it impact the fact that we're going to add locale 2, 3, 4, 5, 80 locales extra? How does it impact? We, as localization experts in our industry, in our own entities, need to be able to review that, discuss that, be able to speak with the people in the companies we are in about that. And this doesn't indicate only how do you reduce the cost, because it's not only about that, right? Because if you are able to explain how actually investing in a technology, investing in MT, investing in a LSP that does better than others, how this will help the bottom line of your entity, then you've done what you're supposed to do. There's a typo there. The other issue that I found quite often is, once you figure out the financials and you're able to answer that, then you look at the team and where your team is within your own entity. Are you in a development organization? Are you in tech hubs? Are you in reporting into org where you should be reporting into? And a lot of the reviews I've had with localization experts in the industry, and in our own industry is that oftentimes they answer, no, I'm not in the right place. My team is not where it's supposed to be. And because it's not in the right place, I can't have the right impact on the company I'm in, within the company I'm in. So that's a harder one, because this takes you to explain to your head of engineering, your financial people, why your team is not effective the place where it is today and where it's supposed to be. And it depends on what you do, right? If it's an application development you're doing, if it's websites, you need to determine what is the right place within your organization for your team to be in. As you heard, I just went through this exercise at Yahoo of when I started at Yahoo, we had different teams doing localization, every team relying on different pieces of technology, different LSPs, and the effort I put in was to bring it all together because I thought this was the right thing. Also, it was the right thing because each of these teams were reporting into organizations within Yahoo where they couldn't be as effective as they were supposed to be. So today we have this one localization team. We are in the right location within the company, have the right impact within the company. And we're just at the beginning. So this is one thing that you always have to ask if you are in the right place. And then, if your team is in the right place, then who is in your team? And this is a whole different issue. Where are the experts in this industry? I think we all have this issue. I'm trying to hire right now, and it's pretty hard. We're interviewing nonstop, and it's pretty hard to find people that have all-around expertise in localization from end to end, that are able to understand the financial impact of what they do, who are able to understand how MP fits into this, how LSPs fit into this. So, but you need to look at your team, the people you have on your team today, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that are going to do it. And you're relying on outside expertise, but the internal expertise is what's going to have a real impact. I don't know how am I doing time?
You've got 10 minutes.
Oh, plenty of time. I thought I didn't have time. How you decide on who to hire, of course, depends heavily on what you do. So there's not a one solution for everything. But you know, in my case, in Yahoo's case, we develop hundreds of applications. We have websites, we have technologies that go all over the place. So how do you find a person that understands all of that? Are you supposed to find one that understands all of that, or maybe you don't? So that's one thing that we need to, I think as an industry, we need to review. And this is the end part, is how does it all come together? So localization, as we all know, puts together so many different aspects within a company, internally and externally. We rely from the beginning on specifications, and so are we getting the specifications that are correct? Do we get them in the time frame that we need them? If you're developing applications, then you have to ask yourself, do I have an internationalization organization behind me, or that I can relate to that helps me? Because localization cannot happen if that piece doesn't happen. If you don't have internationalization because you are doing localization of websites that don't require internationalization, then you have to go down the path. And who do I have in my team? Who do I rely on in an engineering team? Which LSPs should I rely on? And you need to look at each of those. And one by one, figure out, are they collaborating with me and my team to get to where I want to be? And one of those pieces, if just one is off, everything is off. And that's the hard part. Localization, that's I think the hard part that we all face is when we have within our own entities to explain how does localization affect and what do we do. is to explain how we don't do just one thing. We don't just handle files. We're getting specifications at the beginning, we're getting files at some point, we're getting internationalization done, and piece by piece by piece until we deliver. And any one of those pieces gets off, we cannot provide the final output. And so I think that's, and this is where I end today, is as today we hear about these different entities that provide solutions, internationalization solutions, MT solutions, LSP solutions, we need to figure out where do they fit in our organization, where do they fit in with the people that I have, where do they fit in with the deadlines that I have, and that's the hard piece, and that's why we're all here today, right? We want to hear how they can help us. And that's it. So I can open it up if you want, or we can talk at the end.
Awesome. We have time for questions. Awesome. Wasn't actually in our schedule, but I was hoping we'd be able to squeeze in. Who has questions?
In terms of the justification for the budgeting that you have for your teams, what kind of ROI or what kind of impact do you have that's positive, and what kind of items do you propose that are negative if you don't do some aspects of localization or IT?
That's the hard part, right? And it depends. It depends on what you develop, what are your if you have an application, if it's a website, if it's a... I think that's one area where the whole localization industry is behind. The ability to really indicate or find out what are the indicators. That's what you're asking basically. What are the key indicators that I can put my hands on and say, if this goes up, it means I did what I'm supposed to do. If it goes down, and I found it at the company where I'm at that we didn't have those, and we're determining them today. We're finding out what are those indicators, and they are not this. I think it depends on what your entity does. Are you going after financials? Are you going after having more eyeballs on your website? It depends. So I don't think there's one answer to what you're asking. But I think the one thing I want to say, as I indicated earlier, is that we have put so much emphasis on technology, on everything else, but we kind of forgot of how do we verify that what we did is right on, right? That's the key. How do you go back and say, because I did X, we got this. And if you can explain that in your company, you're done. And I think a lot of times, as localization experts, we fall behind on that. And we're not able to say that. We're not able to say, because we implemented this MT solution, because this is what we got, and this is how it helped our own entity. That's where we need to get as a whole industry.
So it's really not how busy you manage to look?
Can you say that again?
It's really not about how busy you manage to look?
No. That doesn't go far.
So my question would be, you mentioned about you want to talk to the CFO, but I'm thinking about localization supposed to be part of the technology solution. You should talk to CIO or CTO. And the other question would be, when you mentioned about end-to-end supply chain, I think the localization both should interact with the marketing department, as you mentioned, a website, and BPO, business process management, because you can improve your business process. So I'm just wondering what exactly Yahoo doing over there from these two perspectives.
Okay. So the financial officer, I say you need to speak with your CFO to say that at the end, you might not be speaking with your CFO, but you might be speaking with someone in the finance team. But at the end of the day, regardless of what team you are in, it boils into how much do we put into this effort. How much are we going to invest in MT, in headcount, and it all boils down to that, to a financial issue. And so you might not be interacting with your chief financial officer, but I can tell you that at the end of the day, there's going to be a review of financially, how is this team doing? How much do we put into this team, and what do we get out of this team? And it's not the position of the finance team to come up with, oh, I see it, I understand how it helps. It's our job to say that. It's our job to indicate how, by providing a technology piece, by having more headcount, for example, how does that help your whole entity? I think then you're asking the CIO, it depends, right? In different entities, so where I work, the CIO is not involved in the localization effort. It depends on how the organization is. But there's no doubt that everyone needs to be on, you need to talk with your head of engineering. If I'm going to implement MT, it has to fit in my engineer, with everything I'm doing there. So I really hope that I did answer what you were asking.
We have time for one more, and then we'll switch to Asia Online.
Hi, my interest is mainly on the localization as an end-to-end process. How do you deal with internationalization at Yahoo, and how do you plug it into localization efforts?
We need to speak for hours about that. So that's a key piece. If you're building applications that require internationalization, the expertise you need isn't the same that you get from L10N people, from L10N experts. So at Yahoo, we have an internationalization team that I overview. And our internationalization architects, we have architects that basically work side by side with engineering teams, providing know-how, expertise, specifications. Basically, we don't have the headcount to develop all internationalization, of course, but we have sufficient expertise to impact those engineering teams. That's how we do it. In other entities, I think there's other ways you can do this. But considering Yahoo, it's a big entity. We have so much, it's so big that it's hard. It would have been hard to do it otherwise. Also, in our team, we build APIs, internationalization APIs. So we build them, and teams go on them. So they deploy their applications on those APIs. So that helps also.
Thank you, Salvo.
Thank you very much.